Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas, and this is how to make a driving and a racing game in Unity, and welcome to episode 17, another live episode. So the last one went down quite well, and I'm happy with how it went. So this episode is also being broadcast live, and obviously there's going to be a DVR of it, so if you need to catch up, you can catch up, no problem. So this episode, we are going to take a look at game modes, as well as dealing with our menu a little more, and a bit of fan or viewer or person interaction for whoever is watching it live. So there may be a bit of a delay between what I do and chat, but I'm sure we can cope. So let's start with creating some modes. Now, ideally, I would like this game to have 3 different modes, at least to start off with. That will be race mode, which we've already created here. Second one will be a score attack mode, and the last one will be a time attack mode. So let's get started and head to our main menu. This itself has a couple of buttons on. Let me just pan this around. So if I remember correctly, this play game button should take us to the track select, and then the track select here gives us the different options of what we're doing, so red car and whichever track. So at some point, what I think we're going to need to do is create a bit more of a selection and say what mode we want to play. So let's start by going, in fact, let's do it on the track select. Let's have everything together. So I'm going to re-enable the track selection, and I'm going to shrink everything just a little to kind of fit the extra in. It's up to you whether you want to do this separately on a different menu or whether you want to do it on the same menu. But I'm going to do it on the same menu just to kind of save time. So I'm going to shrink my cars a little bit. In fact, let's have 164 by 100, and I'll do the same with this one. 164 by 100, and I'm going to align it there. Shrink the in fact, let me make sure I have the right thing selected there. The car select one I'm going to shrink to about there, and just realign everything just right. Let's align this to center, about there. Same with this one, to there. There we go. And I'm going to shift this up. So, track select, shifted up. And once again, let's just arrange this so it displays how I would want it to be. Obviously, you take as much time as you need with this, guys. There's absolutely no rush whatsoever. Circuit names in correct position, and then shrink the panel, track selection. Looks like I have to bring these down a little to there. And so let's then set up the next panel. So I'm going to hold Control, press D to duplicate the track selection panel. Bring it down. And let's get rid of track selection, the tracks themselves. Right click, rename, and let's have this just called select mode. Now, ultimately, what we're going to do is by default, it's going to take us to race mode. So we're going to have a few buttons down here to select what mode we want. Again, you take this as you need to. So UI and a button, and let's add that to select mode. Zero out the position, 0, 0, 0, all good. And in the center, and text on it, let's change it to score attack. Right click on the button, rename, score button, hold Control, press D, duplicate it and move it along. I'm just going to put it there for now. Right click, rename, time attack, and change the text to time attack. So these buttons now have to become active to change our mode itself. And as you can see, I'm getting a little bit messy with everything I'm doing here, but again, not to worry, that is something you can sort out. So scripts, right click, create C# script, and let's have this as mode select. And as I say, by default, it's going to be race mode. So let's open this up in not Mono Develop anymore, it's Visual Studio. My bad. Okay, see a couple of you guys coming into the stream now. Hello to everybody in chat. Hi, how are you guys? I'm going to have a question for you shortly, and I want everyone to kind of have a bit of a vote on what you'd like to see. So let's get this all sorted. I'm going to start with a public static, and I'll have an int, and I'm just going to call this race mode, semicolon. I'm going to put an annotation there, so the double slash. 0 equals race, 1 equals score, and 2 equals time. So next thing we need to do is basically just set this via the buttons, and we can go sorry, not public, we need, yes we do, so public void, and we'll call it, we're only going to do 2 buttons for now, basically because by default it's going to be 0 race. So 1 is going to be the score, so public void score mode, open close bracket, close curly bracket at the end there, so that completes, and we'll do race mode equals 1 semicolon. We'll copy that method, and we'll change race mode to 2 and change this to time mode and save that script. So if we head back to Unity, and we're going to need this button object again, so mode select script goes on to button object, and then on the score attack button, let's set that button to work correctly. So plus drag across the button object, click on no function, mode select, and it's, what is it, score mode on that one, and time attack, same again, click on plus, button object over there, click on no function, mode select, and it is time mode. So we're going to deal with the score attack mode. So what I want you guys to do in the chat, because I can see you all there now, is tell me 3 different colors that I can use as, for example, something collectible. So if you want to see red, green, blue, tell me in the chat. So let's get to work on creating the game to recognize that we're in score attack and not race mode. So I'm going to save that scene there and head back to assets, and then in race area 1 we'll start off with. Let's zoom in, and we're going to create a script which will recognize that we are in score mode. So let's go to scripts, right click, create C# script, and I'll call this mode score. So this is going to recognize if we are in that score mode. And when the script starts, so we'll go in void start, we're going to need to have a variable which kind of reads from the script we've just written. So public int mode select, and in void start what we do is mode select equals, and it's mode select dot what was the variable we named? It was race mode semicolon, and what I think I'll do, it'll change that to selection rather than select. There we go. And get rid of void update, we do not need that. And what we'll do is if mode select is 1, then we need to get rid of a couple of objects and items within our game. So while we're conscious of that, what we'll do is we'll go to our canvas, go to our panel at the top, which is the lap time, and what we'll do is we will group a couple of these objects together because we don't need them. The divider I will keep there. So within panel itself, right click, create empty, F2, race mode UI, and we're going to group together these objects apart from the divider, drag and drop into race mode UI. Now it all stays the same. However, if we disable it, we can actually replace everything there with something different. And that is what we're going to do. So we'll start with right clicking on the panel. In fact, I'm going to turn off race mode UI for now. Right click on the panel, UI and text. And let's bring it up into place and change it to white. And I'm just going to put score, increase the size. Let's have it 30 and let's have it bold. Okay, that's all good there. And let's anchor it to the top left. And then beneath it, we're going to have the score itself. So I'm going to right click, rename, score, text, hold control, press D to duplicate, bring it below. I'm just going to replace that with 0 for now. Right click, rename, score, value. And then we're going to group those two together in their own object, just like we have with race mode UI. So in the panel, right click, create empty, F2, score, mode, UI. And then group those two together. And then I'll turn it off. So we'll turn race mode UI back on. And in our script, let's then select these couple of variables that they're going to be. So we're going to have public game object, and we'll have race UI semicolon, public game object, score UI semicolon. And then we need some if statements to determine if our mode selection is actually score mode. So that will be if mode selection equals 1, then we do the following: race UI dot set active false semicolon, and then score UI dot set active true semicolon. And we're also going to turn off the AI racer. So public game object AI car semicolon. So then AI car dot set active is false semicolon, and let's save that script. So we've got ourselves set up here, ready and waiting. And what we need to do is this is also going to contain the score itself that we're going to create. So we're going to have public static, have int and current score semicolon. And as you guys should know, I always like to have internal versions of static integers, or static variables I should say. So public int internal score semicolon. Now, because we're going to use UI functions on some objects, we need to put that in our namespace at the top. So using Unity engine .ui semicolon. Now, what we need to do here is we need to have our void update back. I shouldn't have got rid of it, but I did, but we can always put it back. Void update, open close bracket. It doesn't need to be private there. And I'm going to save that there. So we are getting everything together here just nicely. Before we actually create our update, what I'm going to do is, this is where the colors come in, guys, and I'm going to have a quick look at chat and see what colors we had. So I see red quite a bit. I see yellow, blue. So we'll go red, yellow, blue. So I'm going to make something real simple. Just going to be cubes to be the collector things, as it were. And if I go to the car down the bottom, so red, yellow, blue. I'm not going to make too many of these. I'm just going to make it fairly simple. So game object, 3D object, cube. And let's bring it up to the surface so it becomes collectible. So we'll have that there. I'm going to have is trigger ticked. Keep mesh renderer on, but let's create, we already have a red material, luckily enough, so we can attach that to the cube. There we go. So we have a red material. I'm going to duplicate that. What was it? Red, blue, and yellow, did I say? Yeah. So let's change that one to a blue. F2 to rename, blue, matte, and hold control, press D, duplicate, and we'll change that to yellow. And yellow, matte. Okay, so let's go to our scripts folder, and I'm going to right click, create a new folder here, and have this as score scripts. And it's going to be so simple. It's just a new C# script, and we'll have red score. So open that up in Visual Studio, and we don't need these, but what we'll do is it's going to be void on trigger enter. Doesn't need to be private, and does not need this here. And all we're going to do is mode score dot current score plus equals, and we'll say 100. So red's going to be worth 100. And save. Drag and drop that script onto the cube. And I think what we will actually do is set active false. So game object dot set active false semicolon. So it turns it off, so you can't collect it again and again and again. So on the cube, let's right click and rename, and just call it red score. And then obviously we're going to do the same again. So this C# script that we have here, I am going to quickly just basically rename it by duplicating, changing it to blue score, opening it up, changing the class name to blue score, making it equal to 50, saving, and now let's create that blue one. So hold control, press D on the red score, and let's move it over here. Add the blue score to it. No, it's complaining. It's complaining. Okay, so I'm going to remove red score. Save blue score. If I spell the class name right. Right click and rename as well, actually. I don't want to keep it the same, do I? Blue score. Drag and drop blue score onto there. And then we'll do one more. Hold control, press D, because we want the yellow. So yellow score. Open up. Change to yellow score in the public class, and we'll make this equal to 25 points. And save. And then you've probably guessed it. Hopefully, if you guys are following along, we're going to add the blue material to the blue score. Hold control, press D. It's going to be the yellow score. So F2, yellow score. Add the yellow material. Add the yellow score script. Remove the blue one from it. So we have our scoring objects set up. And as I say, it's entirely up to you how you're going to go about this, the kind of objects you would want. I'm not going to tell you what you should have. It's your game at the end of the day. And let's see. So, oh gosh, I can see quite a few people in chat. I can see a lot of familiar faces. How are you guys? How is everyone? I'm good. I'm good. You know how it is with these tutorials. A little bit different than live streams, but yeah. There'll be a live stream coming up in May. It's going to be a bit of a Q&A, so we'll get to know each other a bit better then, guys. So we have our scoring objects. We have our scoring system. So on mode score, what we're going to do is let's have, what do we call the score mode UI? We had it as score value, didn't we? So we'll define that as an object. So public game object. score value, semicolon. So void update, internal score is going to be equal to current score, semicolon. And at the same time, score value dot get component in spiky brackets text, close bracket dot text is going to be equal to double quote plus internal score, semicolon, and save. So let's head back to Unity, and we're going to need to attach that script we created, which is mode score, onto a new game object. So create empty, right click, rename, score mode, and drag and drop mode score onto there. And let's set those variables into place. So score mode UI is there, race mode, AI car, and score value, which is right there. So I'm going to save that scene. I'm going to head back to my track select, press play, and I'm going to click on score attack just so we make sure we have that mode ready. Select the car, select the track, and we can see that we have no AI car at all, and we have score up here, and as we drive and collect our score, it changes. Perfect. So I think one more thing we're going to have to make sure we do correctly is if we go back to our race area 1, and we're going to need to combine all these together. So these are going to be score markers, and we're going to need to contain them in the same game objects so they don't appear in the wrong mode. So game object, create empty, F2 to rename, and let's call this score objects. And let's drag and drop those into that same object. And then obviously you can place these all around your track if you need to. And I'm going to turn off that score objects. Back to our script. In the mode score, what we need to do is set that as another variable. So public game object, and we're going to have score objects, semicolon. So if mode selection is equal to 1, we then also need to turn those score objects on. Score objects dot set active true, semicolon, and save. So we then need to apply that to the script as a variable, which is right there at the bottom, and save the script. Now we know that that will come on either way because we've set it as true. So let's quickly double check and test everything. So score attack, red car, Jimmy circuit, and you can see we are back in score mode. So let's check the inverse of that still actually works if we can go into race mode. So we'll also add a button at some point to select race mode, but by default it's going to be race mode. So car, Jimmy circuit, and you can see there we are in race mode. Our AI car is there, our timer is there, no scores. So we're getting to grips now with creating all these different modes that we can have, and there is a long way to go because I think next time what I would like to do is add in some sound effects when we collect these objects that we're setting along the track. I mean, we could probably do it now with a couple of audio files we already have. You could do it yourself. It's just a case of adding an audio source variable to the script. So what I think we're going to do next time is we're going to carry on looking at this. We're going to try and tidy up our menu a little bit. Definitely adding in that extra button to give us race mode, because sure, it's okay by default, but if we accidentally select score mode or time attack or something like that, we need a way of getting back to our original mode. So obviously we can do a button for that, and it's probably something you guys could do if you feel like it, if you really want to. So there's not a lot more to say on this one, to be honest. There's been quite a few people watching again. I'm quite happy with how this live stream has gone. Things haven't gone wrong. Quite happy with that. So I may do more or different tutorials live as well, because sometimes it's good to see what you guys are saying in the chat at the same time. So I am aware that the chat is behind, and this is probably going to cut off a little early. So guys, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching, and then waffle on for about 20 seconds just so as everyone catches the end. So guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. And here comes the waffle. I like waffles. Belgian waffles. Is it caught up yet? I don't know if it's caught up yet. I don't know. Maybe. Okay, guys. I'm hopefully caught up. I will see you next time, guys. Thank you very much for watching.